Okay, so we talked about codominance, where you see both characteristics, both alleles in the phenotype of the heterozygous person, or the plant or flower or whatever it is. That's what codominance is. Incomplete dominance is similar but not the same. And the definition of incomplete dominance is this: an intermediate, spell that right, intermediate phenotype is expressed in the heterozygote. Okay, an intermediate phenotype is expressed in the heterozygote. What does that mean? Let's stick with my flowers. So we know you can get white flowers. Okay, W equals white. Okay, so if I had the genotype big W, it is pretty obvious that I would be a white flower. Okay, you also know that you can get, let me get a better red pen. You can get red flowers. So R equals red. And so it's pretty obvious that big R, homozygous red, would give you red flowers. Okay? So what would you get if you have a big R and a big W? Okay? Well, according to the definition, an intermediate. Okay? Intermediate means somewhere in the middle. So what is in between red and white? You got it. You would get pink flowers. Okay, so halfway between red and white is pink. We'll make this look obviously pink, or more to point, obviously a flower. You would get a pink flower. And if you want to make it really pink, we can do this. Okay, so simple. If you had, let's say we had a W and a W, which would be a white flower, and we crossed it with an R. Let's make it interesting. An R and a W. Okay. Let's do my gametes. So there's the parent genotype. That would be a W. This would be the gametes because they're in singles. That would be a W. This one over here would be a W. And this one here would be an R. So let's put my R here. And then we got W, W, W. So what would we get? This one would be R and W. So over here, this would be R and it would be W. Number 2 would be WW. Number 3 would be WW. And number 4 would be WW. No, I made a mistake there. This should be an R, shouldn't it? So number 3 should be R, W, and number 4 will be WW. Okay, so we know that the phenotype for WW is going to be a white flower. Okay, and the genotype for these two would be RW. Well, what's halfway between red and white? Would be pink, and that would be pink. So if you've ever grown seeds, like for example, I have a plant that grows in my garden every year and started off having white seeds which produce white flowers and red seeds which produce red flowers. Here we are 2 or 3 years later with some cross-pollination. So pollen from white flowers, which is the male gamete, went to the stigma of the red flowers, which has the ovary which contains the female gametes, and vice versa. Well, it's really interesting because now I have a lot of white flowers, not so many red flowers, but I also have a whole bunch of pink flowers, even though I never started off with pink flowers. And that's because this particular plant, which is called cypress vine, it has incomplete dominance when we're talking about flower color. So that's incomplete dominance. You might get incomplete dominance. Sometimes you get it with some animals, like I want to say maybe rats show incomplete dominance, or mice do. And you could have a white mouse and a black mouse, and when they have babies, some of them are white, some of them are black, and some of them, guess what? What's in between black and white? Some of them are gray. That's incomplete dominance. Pretty straightforward. The only critical thing here is that you remember incomplete, you get a phenotype which is midway in between the two, whereas codominance, you get it where you see both colors.